Imagine a time when entire nations were on the move, reshaping the world as we know it. This was the Great Migration period. In the 4th century, around AD 375 to be precise, a significant shift occurred. This was not a shift of ideas or cultures but rather a vast movement of people, entire tribes and nations. This mass migration was triggered by the invasion of the Huns, a fierce and warlike nomadic people from Central Asia into Eastern Europe. Like a domino effect, the Huns' invasion sparked a chain reaction of movement. Tribe after tribe, nation after nation, displaced by the advancing Huns, began to move. This was not a simple relocation, but a massive, tumultuous shift that would forever change the face of a continent. The Great Migration period, also known as the Barbarian Invasions, was not a single event, but a series of migrations, invasions, and expansions that took place over several centuries. This era was marked by warfare, cultural upheaval, and the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. However, it was also a period of remarkable resilience, adaptation, and cultural exchange. Amid the chaos and upheaval, new kingdoms were born, new cultures emerged, and the map of Europe was redrawn. The Gothic, Frankish, Anglo-Saxon, Lombard, and other tribes left their mark on the regions they settled, influencing the languages, cultures, and societies that would eventually evolve into modern Europe. But the Great Migration period was more than just a time of disruption and change. It was a time of interaction, of fusion between the migrating tribes and the Roman world. It was a time when the old world was fading away and a new world was being born out of its ashes. The Great Migration period was a time of upheaval, but it was also a time of remarkable resilience and transformation. It was the dawn of a new era, an era that would shape the course of history and leave a lasting impact on the world we know today. The Huns' invasion set the stage for a domino effect of migrations across Europe. It was like a colossal game of chess, where each move precipitated another, reshaping the landscape of the continent forever. One of the first significant moves in this grand game was made by the Visigoths. Originally from Scandinavia, the Visigoths had been living peacefully as farmers in Eastern Europe. But when the Huns arrived, the Visigoths were forced to move. They sought refuge within the Roman Empire, crossing the Danube River under the guise of asylum seekers. But the Romans treated these asylum seekers poorly, selling them as slaves and mistreating them to the point of rebellion. Fueled by desperation and anger, the Visigoths rose against their oppressors, culminating in the infamous sacking of Rome in the year 410. This was a shocking event that sent tremors across the known world. It was the first time in 800 years that Rome had fallen to a foreign enemy, marking the start of the Great Migration period in earnest. While the Visigoths were making their mark on history, another group was on the move. The Vandals, originally from modern-day Poland, were also displaced by the Huns. They embarked on a long and arduous journey, crossing rivers and mountains, battling Roman armies, and even braving the sea. Their destination was the fertile lands of North Africa, far removed from the chaos and conflict of Europe. Once they arrived, the Vandals established a powerful kingdom, stretching from modern-day Algeria to Tunisia. They became renowned seafarers, controlling the Mediterranean Sea with their formidable navy. It was a far cry from their humble beginnings in the cold plains of Eastern Europe. As the dominoes fell, one group's movement sparked another, leading to a cascade of migrations. This was the beginning of a turbulent and transformative period in human history, a time of great upheaval and change where the old world was swept away and a new one was born in its place. The Great Migration was not just about the movement of people, it was also about the exchange of cultures and ideas. Let's dive into the cultural and societal impacts of this monumental period. As diverse tribes traversed across continents, they carried with them their unique customs, beliefs, and ways of life. This movement, this stirring of societies, led to an unprecedented fusion of cultures. Imagine a vast mosaic, each piece distinct but contributing to a grand, intricate design. This was Europe during the Great Migration period. One of the most significant cultural exchanges occurred between the Romans and the Germanic tribes. The Romans, with their advanced civilization, had a profound influence on the Germanic tribes. The tribes adopted Roman law, literature, and even their architectural style. In turn, the Germanic tribes infused their own traditions and values into the Roman society. They introduced their warrior ethos, their love for freedom, and their clan-based social structure. This mutual exchange led to a unique blend of Roman and Germanic cultures that resonated across Europe. Parallel to this, the Great Migration period also marked the spread of Christianity throughout Europe. The migrating tribes, initially pagans, gradually embraced Christianity. The religion's message of salvation and the promise of eternal life appealed to the tribes. They carried this newfound faith with them, spreading it across the lands they traversed. The spread of Christianity not only transformed the religious landscape of Europe, but also had profound implications on its social and political structures. The Great Migration period was not just a physical journey, it was a journey of ideas, traditions, and beliefs. It was a period of great transformation, where societies evolved, cultures merged, and a new Europe was born. Through this tumultuous period, Europe was reshaped, redefined, and reborn. The Great Migration period was a crucible of cultures, forever altering the fabric of European society. This was a time when the old gave way to the new, when long-held boundaries were crossed, and when the course of history was forever changed. As with all great movements, the Great Migration period eventually came to an end. The wheel of time kept turning, and by the late 6th century, the final wave of this massive human tide was washing ashore. This last wave was led by the Lombards, a Germanic people, who invaded Italy in AD 568. This event is traditionally seen as the curtain call of the Great Migration period. The Lombards, under the leadership of their king Alboin, swept into northern Italy, establishing a kingdom that would last for over 200 years. This marked the end of an era, but like the final note of a symphony, it echoed the themes that had been playing throughout the period. The Lombards were not just invaders, they were settlers. They brought with them their language, their customs, and their laws. They intermingled with the existing population, leading to cultural syncretism, a blending of traditions and ideas. This pattern was not unique to the Lombards, it was a hallmark of the Great Migration period. The long-term consequences of this period are monumental. The movement of these diverse peoples across Europe led to the formation of modern European nations. The boundaries of kingdoms shifted and morphed, old empires fell while new ones rose, and languages evolved and blended. This period of migration also brought about significant socio-economic changes. The newcomers introduced new techniques in agriculture, craftsmanship, and warfare. They established new trade networks and brought with them new religions and beliefs. The Great Migration period was a crucible in which the modern world was forged. It was a time of upheaval, of struggle, and of change. The echoes of this period are still heard today, in the languages we speak, in the borders of our nations, and in the traditions we uphold. The Great Migration period may have ended, but its impact reverberates through history to this very day. This was not just an end, but a beginning, the birth of a new era that continues to shape our world. The echoes of the Great Migration period can still be heard in the modern world. This epoch, marked by the mass movement of diverse tribes across Europe, would reverberate through the centuries, leaving an indelible imprint on the cultural, linguistic, and national landscapes of the continent. The legacy of the Great Migration period is, perhaps, most significantly felt in the formation of various modern European languages. As the tribes moved, they carried with them their unique tongues which over time merged, evolved, and gave birth to many of the languages we speak today. Germanic, Slavic, and Romance languages, among others, can trace their roots back to these tribal dialects, echoing the voices of our distant ancestors. But the legacy of this era extends beyond just language. It also played a pivotal role in carving out the nations of Europe as we know them today. The migration of the tribes led to the establishment of new political entities, many of which would evolve into the modern nations of England, France, Germany, Italy, and more. The tribal identities solidified, giving rise to national identities that persist to this day. Moreover, the Great Migration period set the stage for the Middle Ages, a time of feudalism, chivalry, and the rise of the Christian Church. The societal structures and norms that emerged during this migration period laid the groundwork for the medieval society, shaping Europe's historical trajectory in profound ways. And yet, perhaps it is the spirit of resilience and transformation that truly characterizes the legacy of the Great Migration period. Amidst the chaos and upheaval, these tribes adapted, evolved, and ultimately thrived. They faced the unknown, shaped their destinies, and in doing so, shaped the course of history. The Great Migration period was a time of tremendous change and upheaval, but it was also a time of resilience and transformation, whose echoes can still be heard today. That's a wrap for today, folks. If you enjoyed, tap that like button. Don't miss out on the fun. Subscribe to stay tuned. The excitement is just beginning.